Zaxby's, indescribably good.
And welcome back to the Rocky Hidalgo Show, where today we review that big victory against North Cobb and preview the Woodstock game. As always, the Rocky Hidalgo Show is brought to you by Zaxby's with 2 locations in East Cobb. I'm Kurt Shreiner here along with the head coach, Rocky Hidalgo of the Walton Raiders. And Rocky, I walked in and you don't look any smarter than you did before the game on Friday, but I guess everybody just kind of comes around with the way it is in football now. Like, well, I'm glad Rocky changed everything so we could just win that game Friday night. But huge victory for the Raiders in Raider Valley Friday night over North Cobb.
Yeah, it was huge. You know, it's funny. I've got a lot of people the first 2 weeks patting me on the back about how excited everybody was that we changed the offense. We were throwing the ball more.
Right.
And we were 0-2, and
right.
I didn't feel real good about it. And, you know, Friday night we ran the ball, 48 times or whatever it was, and we won. And I'm sure people are grumpy that we didn't throw it enough. But, it was a huge game. It was a great environment. It was electric when we came in. I knew our kids were going to play well. I was real confident because we had 2 great weeks of practice. In the long run, I think what happened to us at Hillgrove will be really good for us. I think it really focused our team and our energy, and we played like it on Friday.
Well, and the 2 teams you've lost to, Peachtree Ridge is now 3-0. Hillgrove, I believe, is 2-0. And at the end of the day, though, you're up 14-13 in the second half, late. Tim Burns, who's doing the game with us on the radio, says, "I'd like to see a 12-minute and 3-second drive that's 88 or 92 yards." Well, you did it in 6 minutes. You controlled the ball. I thought we'll talk about KK Brooks, but I thought your offensive and defensive lines did a great job. Offensively, getting some push. Defensively, just really keeping that high-powered offense that North Cobb penned in. And, great job by the big guys up front.
Yeah, I know everybody is about the spread offense and getting people in space and all those things, but if you watch teams like Oregon, Texas A&M, all those, a lot of their run game and 90% of their run game is still interior run game. They try to spread you out and run where you're not. Mm-hmm. Playing a 3-4 like we are, we've got 5 guys in the box. It's really important that our defensive linemen play an incredible game and don't let the ball be run in the middle. We've got to spill the ball outside or outside backers and those guys played an incredible game Friday night. We knew they were capable of it, and just fundamentally over the first couple of weeks, they didn't do some things like we wanted to, and they really stepped up, listened to what we're doing, and played a great game, shut everything down inside the tackles. Our offensive line came off the ball really well, especially our interior of the line.
Right.
We got great push in the interior. And we push some people around, and it's good to see. For me, that's Walton football. It's a hard-nosed defense, great offensive line play. We're going to come out and try to bloody your nose a little bit and see how we react to it, and that's what we did on Friday.
KK had 144 yards in the first 2 games combined. He had 125 in the first half on Friday night, and then fourth quarter, it was really the KK Brooks show. I mean, almost 50 carries, almost 250 yards. It was a great performance in ball control and just the toughness and how he just kept coming back. And you got a sense in the fourth quarter where the North Cobb guys were sitting there saying, "I don't want to see him anymore."
Yeah, and that's who we want to be. We're and we've talked about this as a staff. We played the Hillgrove game. That's throwing the ball 52 times. That's not
right.
who we are.
Right.
We're a body puncher. We want to take our toll on our opponent and wear them down and win the game in the fourth quarter. And I think that's what we've won here for 17 years with, and that's who we're going to be. We're not going to be a team that's going to go out and run 90 plays. We don't want to run 90 plays. We want to shorten the game. We want to run the football and play great defense. And when you got a guy like KK who's a sophomore and ran the ball 46 times and just ran some hard-nosed runs.
Absolutely.
I mean, 4 or 5 yards a pop and kept the chains moving, and he's going to be a special player here.
His longest run was basically 20 yards, but just kept coming at you. Couple of special teams plays, particularly in the punt game. On the first drive, the drive stalls around midfield. Fake punt turns into a big gain for the Raiders, and then later on, same thing, a fake punt, run to some open space, keeps the drive alive. Called plays that you let the players kind of decide. I would have thought more called plays.
We have we changed our punting formation this year. Went to the rugby punt.
Right.
We actually have about 5 fakes out of it. We have not run. Obviously, we haven't run all the fakes, but
right.
It's one of those things that we can check things from the sideline and alert to things depending on where the defensive lines. We feel good about our punt team that we can punt the ball. We can rugby punt it, and we feel confident in our ability to get the first downs. If by using those plays, those offensive plays, one of the things we looked around is Going into the game, we felt like we should have done it at Hillgrove, and I made a decision going in. We were going to fake the first punt.
Right.
One of the fakes when we got out there. When Hutton gets the ball in rugby, his rule is he has a free go on 4th and 6. I tell him if it's 4th and 6 and you can get the first, if you get out there, tuck it and run, he's got one free pass. And I gave him the thumbs up before I get out there. We've got a thumbs up, thumbs down if he can keep it or not keep it. I gave him the thumbs up, and he made a great decision in going out there. He's a really heady football player. He's a better athlete than people think.
Well, he's
he
an
is.
athlete. I mean,
he is.
He is one of your quarterbacks as well. And with that rugby punt, when that end came upfield and created that running alley, I mean, Hutton just took off and away he went.
It's a very, it's something that we kind of wanted to go to last year. We didn't do it, and this year we just jumped feet first in. It's a very, very difficult thing to defend, the rugby punt, when you put all of those pieces together, all the fakes, and it's tough. I mean, I'm really excited about what we've been able to do with our punting game has been improved, our protection has been improved, but on top of that, it's a true weapon for us now in our ability to get the first down. I feel comfortable anytime. 4th and 10 in that we've got not only do we have a chance to punt the ball and pin them deep, but depending on what the defense gives us, we can get out there and potentially get the first.
What did you tell your team after the game in the end zone? I mean, obviously there was a lot of excitement after the game, but what did you tell them? I mean, I can imagine with all the hard work and.
I actually gave the post game victory speech before the game, and I told them.
Good job.
I did. I told them that, and I said. The only thing I'm telling you guys after the game, after we win, is that practice is Monday at 3:45, and if you're hurt, go see the trainers. And that's the only thing I said to them. I was confident our kids would play well. And when I know our kids are really focused and they're going to give a great effort, I feel confident we can play with anybody and beat anyone. I knew it was going to be a tough game. We were going to have to create some plays to win. We did that. And the talk down there was just about, hey, they had already heard the victory speech. They didn't need to hear it again.
Well, the other thing that was really impressive because the defense gave up a big play, and North Cobb has an opportunity to tie the game. They don't, but the defense came right back. The offense didn't hang its head. There was a lot of resilience on Friday, and even through the 3 games, you can start to see that maturation. You can start to see some of the seniors looking around going, hey, I'm a senior. I've only got 7 or 8 more games left maybe in my football career. Let's make this worth it. And you could really just see that there was a completely different attitude, particularly on the defense.
Yeah, and we take a lot of pride in what we do. From football program, I mean, our kids want to win. Right. They believe they can win. And they're proud of their football program and the way they go out and compete on Friday night, especially on our offensive line as coaches. We're very proud of how we coach the offensive line, how we coach defense here. We don't always have major college talent on defense, but I think we've got a track record over the last 15 years of playing defense with anybody out there. And it didn't sit well with us. What went on at Hillgrove, we felt like we gave up too many easy scores. And, we challenged our kids. We practiced with a sense of urgency we had not had. And today I went back out and challenged them to do it again. Don't be satisfied with the North Cobb victory being the highlight of the 2013 season. And we have a chance to have a great year. And I think, sometimes you just got to get over the hump. And, sometimes you got to get punched in the nose to see how you react. We got punched at Hillgrove and we came back pretty strong. Hopefully we'll continue over the next 7 games.
Your linebackers, Whitaker, Williams, and Gibson were very physical. DJ had a great stop on that 1 3rd down play, just stone-cold stop on a wide receiver. I think just watching the game from where I was watching it, I think North Cobb was a little surprised by how physical you guys were.
Our kids have never been sissies, and anybody who's ever played us, anybody who plays us, and they expect – that they're just going to win the game. Yeah. We've been here long enough, and I'm not going to say, I will say this, that I'll say this: of the past 15 years, we've won more big games than anybody in Cobb County, and I don't care what games how great a season you had last year, or you're having a great run, or what the MDJ says where you're ranked on Friday night. If you come to Raider Valley and expect to just kind of come in here and dust us aside, that's not going to happen. Our kids, we've got good football players. They take pride in what they're going to do, and they'll fight you tooth and nail to win the game.
Yeah. Valdosta and MLK come to mind.
That's something.
Well, okay, Rocky, so we played 3 games. That's great. We charge full admission like the NFL does for preseason. The games are important, but Friday, the high school season takes a different twist because you start region play against Woodstock. So we're going to take a break to hear from our sponsor, Zaxby's, with 2 locations in East Cobb, and we'll come back and preview that Woodstock game.
Zaxby's, indescribably good.
So the Raiders open in region season this Friday night, Rocky, going to Woodstock. Now, Woodstock's been a place that it's tough to play. Fans are kind of right on top of you. They've got that field up there on that hill. One of the bigger upsets that I can remember at Raider Valley was when they came into the playoffs a couple of years and beat us. You know, when you get into our schedule now with the Woodstocks and the Etowahs, and it just kind of comes this grind, everybody's ready to play, and on the road, there's no such thing as an easy win in this region.
No, and one of the things about our region, I remember a decade ago there were games you could show up and you knew you were going to outcoach somebody and you were going to win because you could get you just had an edge coaching. It's not that way anymore. We've got a lot of really good coaches, top to bottom. I think the region is very well coached. People are going to line up. They're going to know how to defend you, and you're going to have to go out there and compete and execute. So it's not that easy. And Coach Buddy at Woodstock's done he's been a part of some good football teams, and in the last couple of years the cycle through talent probably hasn't been what it was previous to that. But those guys who are coaching there, they know what they're doing. They know the job, and they'll have their kids ready to play on Friday. Offensively,
they've made a switch. They used to be a kind of a traditional, option team that you would have seen in the 1980s, and now they've spread it out a little bit as well. When you defend that, though, I mean, how much of a dramatic change is it when you see a team kind of go from an offense, which is kind of that hardcore option offense, to spread? And how do you react to that as a defensive coach?
Well, one of the things I always do is who's calling the plays.
Yeah.
Because, I do, as when I was a defensive coach, I used to look at when guys would change offenses and the coordinator was the same. I still went back and looked at what he went back to on third and short, on fourth and on 4th and 1, on 3rd and 10, because there are some tells there. It may not be the same plays, but you can at least have you can kind of look inside his psyche and see kind of what he's thinking there. Just find out who that person is. I always wanted to know, get to know the person calling plays. I spent a lot of time with the guys who I was coaching against because I wanted to know what type of person they were. Were they gamblers? Were they guys who gambled? Were they, because you need to know, and that people, you can't run from yourself in that respect. You're going to be who you are, especially when the game's on the line and it's tight. In terms of teams switching offenses, one of the things I want to see is how committed they are to it. When the team struggles in a new offense, a lot of times one of the first things they do is go back to the old offense because it's something they know and something they're comfortable with. I think Woodstock has made a commitment to go and to the spread and move the ball around out there, and I think their community is excited by it. So I think we'll continue to see them improve on a weekly basis and get better over on the side of the ball.
And you've got 2 road games in a row again. I mean, so you've been kind of away for 2, home for 1, away for 2 more. I mean, good news is the home games start to stack up towards the back end of the season. But you can't just live off this North Cobb victory and think the season is turned around. I mean, you got to keep the players focused, and you go to 2 tough places with Woodstock and Cherokee to play. Cherokee's another place where we've had some nightmare nights.
Yes.
And what's the message that you just do with the team? Just guys, this is only 3 games into this. The season really starts on Friday.
Well, the only thing we have is locked up is 1 and 9. That's what we have locked up. We talk to our kids about being mature and surviving success, and focus on the process. One of the things there's this guy by the name of Nick Saban out there. Some people probably, for football fan, you probably heard of him.
He's an offensive coach.
Yeah, he's really successful wherever. It's a little school just west of here. But one of the things really interesting about him, he talks about focusing on the process and not on the championship. There's and it's the truth. There are 400 teams sitting around thinking about hoisting that trophy at the end of the year.
Right.
But it's the few teams that are sitting around thinking about practice and what they're going to improve on at practice today. Those are the ones that are going to have a chance to compete at it. And we have to sell our players on coming out and improving today. Friday night was great, but Friday night's over with, and people can sit around and pat you on the back. But at the end of the day, if we don't play better on Friday night, all those people who loved you and were your friends will be sitting around talking about how you stink. So we've got to be mature, go out there and take care of our business and focus on the process of individually getting better every day and continue to build our football team.
So, Rocky, I'm going to ask you a question about something that happened on Friday night. Did not happen here, but a tough situation when you're a coach. Camden County played Beech, and they scored 90. As a coach, I mean, I think that when you're the coach with the 90, or when you're the coach when it's 50 and you're headed, it's got to be your worst nightmare. I mean, what do you tell your kids? Is it you can't really tell a kid to take a knee on every snap, can you? I mean, how do you control a situation like that?
It's hard, and and I had a chance to talk with Coach Coffey at the dinner for the luncheon for the Corky Kell, and it was the first time I'd met him. Very nice person, and
Right.
I can assure you from just the 30 minutes I spent with him that he's not out there trying to score 90 on Beech.
And the article said the same thing.
And I saw that in the Lowndes game. I think a big part of it for me, it's kind of off topic a little bit. I think, the Savannah area schools, a lot of those schools are AA schools, and they play up because of transportation. And
Right.
frankly, I don't think they should do that. I think those players who go out there and play football at Beech, they need an opportunity to go out and compete. And to do that, they can't go play Camden County, a school that's got 1,000 more kids or 1,500 more kids in them. They have no chance to compete. So as the adults down there, frankly, they need to do a better job of managing that situation.
Mm-hmm.
Look around and say, I know we saved some transportation costs by playing up in 5A or 6A, because those schools played in 6A, Windsor Forest, all those, they played up in 6A for years. But it's not fair to the kids.
Yep.
Now, as a coach, when you're sitting there and you're talking to your kids, I don't know what you do. I mean, you just kind of have to hand the ball off and pray for the best.
Yeah.
And it may be more demoralizing if you just go out there. I have thought about that because we've been in situations like that. What's the worst thing that can happen? Is it that your kids are still competing and your freshman team scores a touchdown, or your JV scores a touchdown, or your JV goes out there and takes a knee, 4 knees from the 3-yard line?
Right.
And then the other side of that is if you're the coach for Camden County or Lowndes, your responsibility is Camden County or Lowndes. And you've got to prepare that next group of players. Those young players that get in, they deserve the opportunity to go in there and compete and do the best they can. You can't tell them to lay down. So it's a tough situation for me if anybody's at fault. The powers that be that continue to place those schools and compete them or put them in competitions versus 6A schools or schools with 2,000 kids or 1,500 more kids.
Yeah.
Those are the ones, to me, that are irresponsible, and they need to do a better job of managing that. And a lot of those schools in the Savannah area.
And it's almost, if you're going to send somebody out to take a knee, you almost need to send your starters out to go take a knee, because if you're a 9th grader or 10th grader who's been getting beaten up in practice all the time, you want to play football.
Yeah, exactly.
You don't want to take a knee.
There were years ago we were playing North Cobb, as a matter of fact, and this is when I was the offense. I was coaching the offensive line, and we were playing North Cobb, and we were beating them pretty good. And we put the JV in. I was calling plays, and our JV scored at the end of the game. And the North Cobb coach was really upset about it. I think it was like 44-10 or something. And I remember the bus ride back, and Ed and I having a conversation about what do you do? What do you do when you put the JV in? Where do you get there? It's a conundrum that I don't really have an answer for. I think you just put kids out there and you play and hope everybody stays safe and try to keep your head up.
So before we go, I'll just ask you a question. Did you get a chance to see the game on Saturday afternoon between that small school west of here and that other small school further west of here?
Well, I'll be honest with you. I was at Kell High School at 3 o'clock kickoff for Deuce Hidalgo versus the Kell Longhorns. The K1 Raiders won 20-0. Deuce had his first tackle this season, almost recovered that ball. I explained it was a fumble. I said, "You mean that fumble?" And he looked at me and goes, "What do you mean? What's a fumble?" He didn't know what the fumble was, but. So
that's probably a good thing.
I DVR'd the game, and I knew it was 14. The last score I heard was 14-14. I went back and just kind of watched it until Alabama took control and was just fast forwarding through. It was a great way to watch the game. I got to skip all the commercials and watch Texas A&M climb in, and then I finally caught up with it with about 6 or 7 minutes left in the game, and I got to watch the tail end of it. And I tell you what, it's love him or hate him, Johnny Manziel. And I don't necessarily agree with what he did, autographs, or how he behaved in the first game. But as a football fan, you got to love to watch him play. He's a great player. He really is. He's exciting to watch play.
There's a lot of football to play, but I'll tell you what, seeing that team in red and white play that team in yellow and green from the far west might be one interesting football game.
It'll be interesting to see. I think,
if anybody gets through it undefeated.
Well, I think, what's interesting for me is I would love to see Alabama and Oregon play. But the question that I have is that Alabama defensively is built. I'm not sure they're built to defend those teams. I think they're built defensively to defend, LSU, who's going to line up and smack you in the mouth. Georgia's, and that's typical of what the SEC does. And that doesn't. Don't get me wrong. I don't think that. I think it's not that Nick Saban doesn't know that, but I think you've got to have some. Now, Alabama is just they're so big. They're when you look at them, they've made the commitment to have this big, powerful defense, and a team like obviously Texas A&M or a team like Oregon could give them some trouble by making them play in space, making those guys play in space. Whether Alabama wins or Oregon wins, I don't know, but I think it's an interesting matchup. Because Alabama is obviously built to beat LSU and built to beat Georgia and that type of football. Right. But now that Texas A&M is in there, that's a little different type of football. And sometimes matchups get you. And it didn't on Saturday, but down the line, it'll be interesting to see how it works out.
Maybe we could have that Final Four of Stanford and Alabama beating each other to death, and then Texas A&M playing Oregon and running each other to death.
That would be in 62 to 61 and 13 to 10.
Right, exactly. Well, that's enough about our college football predictions and chatter, but the Raiders go on the road to play the Wolverines at Woodstock. Okay, folks, now this is one of those games, if you're traveling, what you need to do is you want to go eat dinner over at Woodstock because the traffic between here and Woodstock on a Friday evening is tough. So, sneak out of work a little bit early, go grab a bite, go watch the Raiders versus the Wolverines, and then we'll see you next week when we review that game and get ready for the Cherokee game. I'm Kurt Shreiner, along with the head coach, Rocky Hidalgo. Sponsored by Zaxby's as always. This is the Rocky Hidalgo Show. Thanks for stopping in.